Alright, so hi guys and welcome to this video. Today we'll be discussing about how to get the roots of the given cubic equation. So we are given here 2x cubed plus 3x squared minus 18x plus 8 equal to 0, and you are tasked to find the roots of this equation. So the first thing you need to familiar with in solving the equation like this is the C over D, wherein the C is the constant term and the D is the leading coefficient of the given equation. So in this case, with this given equation, the value of C is, the constant term is 8, and the leading coefficient D is, that's 2. Now what you need to do is, you will need to get the positive and negative factors of your constant term. So in this case, the 8, the positive and negative factors of 8, that could be positive, negative 1, positive, negative 2. We can also have positive, negative 4, and then lastly we have positive and negative 8. Next, the next one is, you will need to get the only positive factors of your leading coefficient D, which is the 2, and that is positive 1 and positive 2. Now these are the elements of your C and D. Now what you need to do is, you'll just have to divide the factors of your C and the factors of your D. So in this case, you will need to divide C over D. Alright, so to divide this one, or to divide these factors, so of course you can have this one. We have C over D, and the first one could be, we can divide these factors to this one. So the first quotient is, so we have here positive and negative 1. And then the next one is, we have positive and negative 1/2. Right? Next one is, we can divide this thing. We can divide this 2 to 1, and then 2 to 2. But don't forget the positive and negative of your C. So in this case, we can have positive and negative 2, and supposedly we can have 1, but we already have 1 here, so there's no need to repeat the quotient. Alright, so next thing is, so the next one is, we can have this this 4 to 1, alright, so this one 4 to 1 and then 4 to 2. And the quotient of this one is, this could be into, we have positive and negative 4, and supposedly we can have 2, but we already have 2 here, this one, so there's no need to repeat the quotient. So I guess we were almost done with the quotients. The next one is, we can also have the quotient of this 8 to 1, and then 8 to 2. Alright, so in this case, so we have another quotient of positive and negative 8. And lastly, we have 4, but we already have 4 here, so there's no need to repeat the quotient. So we have, this would be your possible roots. So the quotient of C and D would be your possible roots. It means to say that one of these possible roots is the real root of your given equation. Alright, so we will just have to test these possible roots using synthetic division. So let's do that. So to proceed with the synthetic division, we need the coefficients of your given equation. So the quotient of your equation will be, so we have 2, we have 3, we have negative 18, and 8. Alright, so now let's try to test these possible roots that we have gathered. Let's start with trying the, let's say, negative 1. Alright, so in this case, the first step is you will need to bring down 2 and multiply this 2 to your divisor, which is will give us negative 2 here. And next one is to add this thing, we can have 1. And 1 times negative 1, that's negative 1. And negative 18 plus negative 1, that's negative 19. And negative 19 times negative 1, that's positive 19. So this is 27. So in this case, the remainder is not 0. Therefore, this is not the real roots of your cubic equation. So we need to test the other roots to find the first real root of this equation. So let's try another one. So now let's test. Let's say we have, let's say 2. Okay, let's try the 2. Let's say that 2 is your divisor. So to proceed with this one, we have bring down 2, and 2 times 2 is 4, and we have this is 7, and 7 times 2 is, that's 14. And to add this thing, we have negative 4. And negative 4 times 2 is, that's negative 8. So we have 0. So we already have remainder 0. So this will be your first root of the equation. Alright? So it means that these two could be one root of the equation to factor out our equation, which is the cubic one. So the next one, after this one, alright, so after this one, we have now, from the cubic one, your new quotient will become, this will be the coefficient of your new quotient. And from the cubic one, it will become quadratic, right? So it will become, instead of cube, it will become 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. So you have now your new equation, which is equal to 0. So in this case, it will be very easy for us to factor this thing because it is now in the form of quadratic. And to factor this 1, let's proceed and factor this 2x squared plus 7x minus 4. So to factor this one, we need to, since we are given value of a which is bigger than 1, so in this case, this will be the value of a, this will be the value of b, and this will be the value of c. And note that the value of a is bigger than 1, right? So the step to factor this one is you will need to multiply first the value of a and c. So the value of a is 2 and the value of c is negative 4 and the product is, that's negative 8. Alright, so what are which of the factors of this negative 8 will give us the sum of 7? As we all know, the factors of negative 8 which will give us the sum of 7, since the value of b is 7, this one. Alright, so that is by adding negative 8 plus 1. Multiplying this negative 8 to positive 1, that's negative 8. And the sum of this one, of these two, will give us, this is supposed to be positive 8. Let's try to repeat this down. Okay. So we have, actually the real factors which will give us the sum of negative 8 will be negative 8, the sum of 7, that is by adding positive 8 plus negative 1. Alright, so we have negative 1. It means to say that the product of this 8 and negative 1, that's negative 8, and the sum of this 8 and negative 1, that is 7. Alright, so this is how to get the factor, or to get the factor of your quadratic equation given the value of a which is bigger than 1. Now in this case, we have now the factors to be used to factor our quadratic equation. So the first step is you will have to copy the leading coefficient, which is the 2 here, with the variable x. We have also 2x here, and then we have the first root, the first factor is, that's the positive 8, and the other one is, we have negative 1. So this is now the factor of your quadratic equation, and this is supposed to be equal to 0. Now to get the roots of this one, we'll just have to equate. But first step is, take note that this thing could be reduced into x plus 4 by dividing by 2. So this is your final factors of your quadratic. Right? So to get the roots of this one, we'll just have to equate x plus 4 to 0, and then we have 2x minus 1 to 0. And in this case, the value of x for this one is, that's negative 4. And here we have x, the value of x here is, we have 1/2 by transposing the constant term to the other side. So this will be the other roots of your cubic equation. Alright, so let's try. So our first root that we have found was the roots are we have the first one we have, that was 2, and then we have negative 4, and then 1/2. Alright, so this will be the answer of your equation. Alright, so if you will try to get the factors of these roots and multiply them, you will go back to your original given, which was this one. Alright, so the first root was, this is the first root. The other one is, we have this one. Alright, and this one. So this is how you get the roots of the equation, which is a degree of 3 or cubic. You just have to get the value of c over d and get the possible roots and divide them and try to test the possible roots using the synthetic division. Alright, so thank you so much.